The next thing we're gonna make is the Day of the Dead cake. So I chose chocolate mix. You can use a vanilla cake mix. The instructions are on the back. So this cake mix will make 2 cakes, like 2 circular cakes like this. And then we're gonna cut them so that they form the shape of a skull. So the first step is to grease this. So again, we're gonna use a little bit of saran wrap and some vegetable oil. I'm gonna pour it onto our hand and then grease the pan. Depending on what type of pans you're using, you're gonna heat the oven to 325 degrees for non-stick pans or 350 for shiny metal pans. To ensure the cakes don't stick, we're gonna take another measure. We're gonna use parchment paper and we're going to trace the bottom of the pan onto the paper, and then we're going to cut this out. Once we've cut out the circle, then we can place it in the cake pan. We've added the cake mix to the bowl. Now we're going to add the other ingredients. So we're going to add 1 cup of water, 3 large eggs, and 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. Now we're going to combine these ingredients using an electric mixer. We're going to do that on low speed for 30 seconds and then on medium speed for 2 minutes. Now that the cake mix is mixed properly, I'm going to use a rubber spatula and spread it evenly between the 2 cake pans. All right, so these are 2 8-inch cake pans. So you're going to look at your box, and mine's on the bottom, and it tells you how long to cook it. So it's 26 to 30 minutes for 2 8-inch cake pans. So we'll put this in the oven, and I'll let you see when they're done. The cakes have come out of the oven, and I checked them with a toothpick. The toothpick came out clean, so that means they're cooked. I've let them cool. You want them to cool before you try to flip them out of the container. You can take a knife and run it around the edge, and that'll help pop it out. But you really want to make sure they're cool before you ice them. To flip this cake out of this container, I'm going to use a plate. So I'm going to turn the plate upside down. I'm going to flip it. And it came out very nicely, and I can just peel off the parchment. Now I'm going to cut my cakes to look like a skull. So I'm going to start by cutting about 1/4 of the cake off. And what this is going to be is the top of the head of the skull, and then we're going to use the other cake to make the jaw. Now I've cut the top 1/4 of this cake off so that I can line the 2 cakes up. So again, this will be the top of the head, and now I'm going to cut out the shape of the jaw. So now I've trimmed these pieces off, and this is my rough outline of a skull. And so now I'm going to ice my cake. For the vanilla buttercream frosting, we're using this recipe. So we use 3 cups of powdered sugar, 1/3 cup of butter, and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. For the milk, we're going to add 1 tablespoon at a time. I got ahead of myself, but this is the icing. So I used the electric mixer to mix it. I started on low until it started to come together, and then I added the milk. I used about 4 tablespoons of milk, so I used more than what it suggested because mine looked really dry. But this is the consistency I want, so now I'm gonna ice my cakes. I've placed big blobs of icing in different spots on the skull. Now I'm just using a knife to spread them out. All right, so I've iced it. Now we have a blank slate, and we're gonna use all kinds of candies to decorate this in a Day of the Dead fashion. This is our final product. I hope you had fun designing yours.